So easy sometimes. You think about, I want to buy this thing.
Sure.
And you go online and you buy that thing.
It's a little too easy to do these days.
Way too easy. And sometimes you're buying things you don't need. In fact, checkbook.org has a list of 65 things you probably don't need to be paying for.
Checkbook.org's Kevin Brasler is with us live in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. We probably don't have time to go through all 65.
Yeah, no, I thought we were going to spend a couple hours on this. I was well prepared.
We have a few minutes together, so where shall we start?
Well, so, we all buy stuff we don't need. People buy gourmet kitchens and order takeout through DoorDash, right?
That's not a necessity?
It's not. There are luxuries, and I think we all know you don't necessarily need to buy luxuries. But there are also things that are marketed as good buys. And to many consumers, we find that they think they're good buys, but they're actually not. And so most of our list are things like, especially these mini insurance policies everyone's selling these days, trip protection plans, home warranties, things like that, that most people don't need to buy. Although, there's the marketing trap. Sometimes we get, talked into buying things we don't necessarily need. That's what we're focusing on.
One of the things I see that pops up right away is something I get on every neighborhood discussion board I go on Facebook. The scammers are always posting about these, but even when they're legit, we don't need to be paying for air duct cleaning.
Yeah, really very few homes need to have their air ducts cleaned. I mean, if your home is, 50 years old and it's never been done and there's lots of stuff up there, then maybe it needs to be cleared out. But the services that are selling and doing air duct cleaning services, they often recommend you need to have it done once a year. A lot of times they'll tout health benefits. Oh, your indoor air quality will be cleaner. There's actually little to no independent evidence that says that the work they do has any benefit to you, to your home's dust levels. They often say, "Oh, your furnace and will run longer and be more efficient." That's not necessarily true, and so really you need to be skeptical of air duct cleaning companies. We've been talking about this for years. The EPA even says, there's really no evidence that what they're doing has any benefit.
I live in the city, and I'm pretty sure every one of my neighbors uses an exterminator because we do, we deal with rats in the city.
Right.
You don't think we need to pay for that service?
Well, I think that if you have bed bugs or if you have termites, you're going to need a professional. I think if you have a major infestation of roaches or if you have bees or wasps and you don't want to deal with those, and I don't, then you probably want to hire a pro. But if you have a minor infestation of ants or spiders or even roaches, a lot of what pest control companies can do, even mice, what they can do is stuff you can do on your own. I mean, you can set out your own traps. What you really don't want to do, and this is kind of what we warn about here, is that a lot of exterminators, they want to rope you into monthly service contract where you're paying them every month for services that you don't even need anymore. Because if you have a minor infestation of roaches or mice, usually it's a 1 or 2 shot deal and you're done. You don't need to be paying month after month for their services.
Okay, well, I love this one. Honey, I'm buying you some cubic zirconia.
Yeah, no. Well, you could.
No diamonds, you say?
You could because even a lot of jewelers have trouble telling the difference between cubic zirconia and diamonds. What we are arguing is that if you're going to buy a diamond, and a lot of people aren't these days. I mean, the diamond market overall has declined, and one reason is that people think, well, these things are overpriced, and also they're mined in kind of questionable areas usually. I mean, a lot of the diamond trade over the years, they've tried to clean themselves up, but over the years it was, financing wars and things like that. Lab-grown diamonds are considerably less expensive than mined diamonds, and you can't tell the difference. I mean, they are real diamonds. They're not synthetic. They are diamonds. Are they way more environmentally friendly than mined diamonds? They're more friendly, but it takes a lot of energy to produce these things. So even then, it's not like you're saving the world by buying lab-grown, but you're going to save a ton of money, and then you don't have to worry about somebody digging them up somewhere, and you don't know the history of the rock.
We're almost out of time, but I'm struggling with designer eyeglass frames.
Yeah, we've actually talked about this before on this show. What people don't know, I think, is that when you go in an optical store, you see all these frames are there, right? And there's hundreds of them. And some are designer frames, and some are way in the back, and they're a lot less expensive, and they're generics. Almost all those frames are likely manufactured by one single company. It's called Essilor Luxottica. It's hard to get out of the air. But not only do they make most of those frames, they're doing a lot of them under license agreements with these designer companies. The designer companies have really nothing to do about the design of these things or the manufacturer. They're not better products. And they're often made alongside those cheaper generic frames in the same factories in Asia. I mean, the difference between the $400 pair of frames and the whatever, $50, $90 one, they're usually both were made for about $5 to $8, and yet one has the designer label.
A fancy name on it.
Yeah, it has a little thing or a little, Tiffany this or whatever that make them seem more expensive. They're not. They're usually just made in the same place and sold by a store that's owned by that manufacturer.
Okay, so the article is called 65 Things You Shouldn't Pay For. It's up on checkbook.org right now, and we'll put a link up on mynorthwest.com for this.
Great.
Kevin Brasler, thanks so much.
Good to see y'all.